In the icy expanse of the Arctic, a group of explorers stood at the brink of a discovery that would change the fate of Greenland forever, but betrayal lurked just out of sight. To understand the gravity of their position, we must first travel back to the early 18th century. It was during this time that European eyes turned northward, captivated by tales of vast, untouched lands. Denmark seized on this curiosity, driven by a potent mix of ambition and opportunity. In 1721, the Danish crown sanctioned the first formal colonization of Greenland under the leadership of Hans Egede, a missionary determined to spread Christianity among the Inuit. His arrival marked the beginning of a new chapter. Egede established a trading post at Godthåb, known today as Nuuk. This was no simple mission of faith, it was a gateway to wealth. Danish ships sailed laden with goods, eager to trade with the locals for valuable resources like walrus ivory and pelts. As trading posts flourished, Danish influence seeped into the very fabric of Greenlandic society. The introduction of new laws and governance transformed communal life. Traditional Inuit customs began to clash with European ways, leading to both adaptation and resistance. The presence of missionaries, while aimed at conversion, meant that education and new societal structures were imposed, altering Greenland's age-old traditions. The economic motivations behind this colonial expansion were clear. Denmark, facing fierce competition from other European powers, sought to capitalize on the lucrative hunting and trading of walrus ivory and furs. These materials fetched high prices back in Europe, feeding the insatiable demand for luxury goods. Greenland became a valuable asset in a broader imperial strategy, a pawn in the great game of colonial interests. But the consequences of this colonization extended beyond economics. The Danish presence led to significant changes in Greenland's social dynamics. The Inuit, faced with new technologies and skills introduced by the Danes, found themselves in a precarious position. Some adopted these innovations, seeking to improve their lives. Others resisted, clinging to the traditional ways that had sustained them for generations. This tug-of-war over identity and autonomy sowed seeds of discord that would fester as Danish rule grew more entrenched. By the late 19th century, the quest for resources intensified. Greenland's strategic importance became more pronounced, especially as whaling and fur trading boomed. Denmark viewed its Arctic colony not merely as a remote possession, but as a critical component in its maritime empire. The demand for raw materials surged. The hunting culture, once sustainable, began to be exploited on a level that threatened its very existence. As the 20th century dawned, a tide of change washed over Greenland. The socio-economic foundations, already shifting under Danish influence, faced a new force, the scientific curiosity of explorers. Among them was the Thule expedition, which promised to capture the essence of the Arctic's vastness. It was a desperate quest for knowledge, resources, and dominance, but it would become a harbinger of betrayal. In their relentless pursuit of discovery, how would the explorers' actions affect the very people they claimed to protect? What dark secrets awaited as they ventured deeper into the Arctic wilderness? The answers would reshape not just Greenland's future, but the geopolitical landscape itself. As the 19th century drew to a close, the Arctic became a focal point for European exploration. Frigid waters and unforgiving terrain drew adventurers not just seeking glory, but also national prestige and untapped resources. Nations saw the Arctic as a chessboard for geopolitical maneuvering, with every expedition a strategic move in the race for dominance. The thirst for resources was insatiable, leading to a frenzy of scientific exploration, motivated by both altruistic curiosity and a relentless pursuit of national pride. Pioneering figures like Fridtjof Nansen ignited interest in the Arctic, capturing imaginations with epic journeys. His perilous crossings and innovative techniques redefined exploration, yet each triumph fed a growing ambition. With every step on the frozen landscape, nations eyed Greenland not just as a land of mystery, but as a treasure trove of natural wealth waiting to be claimed. In 1906, this ambition took a crucial turn. The Danish government, recognizing Greenland's potential, established the Thule station. Positioned at the northern tip of the island, it became a beacon of scientific inquiry. The station aimed to unlock Greenland's secrets, its geography, climate, and resources. But there was more at stake. As Denmark claimed this strategic outpost, it also reinforced its foothold in a globally competitive environment. The station was a symbol, a declaration that Denmark was a player in the great game of empire. Scientific study flourished at Thule. Researchers cataloged species, mapped the land, and observed the intricate lives of the Inuit. However, this pursuit was more than academic. It intertwined with a larger narrative of territorial claims. Nations plotted to secure dominance over resources, ranging from mineral deposits to maritime routes. The prospect of oil and minerals loomed large in the calculations of European powers. Yet this adventure held deeper implications. While explorers navigated icebergs and glaciers, they overlooked the very real implications of their pursuits on the indigenous populations. The Inuit, whose lives had been shaped by the land for millennia, faced both fascination and exploitation. As Danish interests tightened their grip, tensions simmered beneath the surface. The dichotomy grew. Could scientific progress respect the rich cultural heritage of Greenland's original inhabitants? In this tumultuous climate, old alliances frayed. The air crackled with mistrust. Other nations, notably the United States, eyed Greenland as crucial to their own ambitions. With the shadow of World War looming, strategic Arctic bases became a dire necessity. Denmark's claim on Greenland was not guaranteed. Not just science, but the threat of military power loomed ever closer. As explorers charted the icy waters, secrets lay hidden beneath the surface. Betrayal and rivalry simmered. What had begun as noble aspirations for knowledge devolved into a tense game of chess among nations, where Greenland's true fate hung in the balance. The expedition's most crucial year loomed ahead, but would Denmark's hold on Greenland withstand the brewing storm of international ambitions? Or would betrayal arise from within, jeopardizing not only their claim, but the very lives of the Inuit who called it home? In the harsh Arctic landscape, the Thule expedition launched from 1912 to 1914. Led by Danish explorer Knud Rasmussen, the aim was monumental: to traverse Greenland and document the lifestyles and cultures of the Inuit people. This wasn't merely an adventure, it was a pivotal undertaking in the realm of ethnography. Rasmussen and his team immersed themselves in the daily lives of the Inuit, capturing their traditions, languages, and survival strategies in an unforgiving environment. The expedition yielded detailed observations that enriched Western understanding of Inuit culture, weaving a complex tapestry of human resilience against the backdrop of ice and snow. But the expedition's impact wasn't limited to cultural documentation. It gathered critical geographic and scientific data that purported to advance knowledge about the Arctic, which colonial powers quickly weaponized to assert territorial claims. This information was much more than academic. It served geopolitical ambitions. As nations like Denmark sought to solidify their holds on Greenland, they leveraged Rasmussen's findings to justify their presence atop the icy frontier. The Inuit, meanwhile, faced conflicts exacerbated by these encroaching European interests. These tensions manifested in various ways. Traditional hunting grounds were restricted, impacting the Inuits' way of life and survival. As explorers trampled through their lands, the indigenous communities found themselves caught in a struggle not just for their resources, but for their very existence. Rasmussen, while he admired the Inuit and documented their ways with a passionate pen, was part of a larger machine that bulldozed through Inuit sovereignty. European explorers often approached with a duality of reverence and domination, celebrating the artistry of Inuit life while claiming the land they called home. In this volatile mix of admiration and ambition, the expedition's legacy became increasingly complicated. The very documentation intended to preserve Inuit culture also contributed to a narrative that would frame indigenous claims in the face of colonial ambitions. In the eyes of the colonizers, Greenland was a blank slate, ready for the taking, all while the true stewards of the land meant to defend it were systematically sidelined. As the Thule expedition returned, filled with maps and data, the impact echoed through Europe, heightening desires for Greenland's untapped resources. But these imperial pursuits stirred a brewing resentment among the Inuit, who watched their ancestral lands transform into a chessboard for international powers. The allure of the Arctic was spinning a web of greed and domination, tainting the noble titles of exploration with betrayal lurking beneath the surface. Did the Thule expedition pave the way for future colonizers to exploit Greenland more fiercely, setting the stage for deeper conflict? How would the Inuit, armed with knowledge and tenacity, respond to the encroachment on their world? The story of the Arctic was far from over. Its chilling revelations still awaited, shrouded in ice and intrigue. As we peel back the layers of this complex narrative, one question looms larger. What happens when the protectors become the aggressors? In the early 20th century, grasping Greenland was no mere footnote in the annals of history. It symbolized a strategic chess piece on the global board, desired amidst a backdrop of geopolitical tensions. Amidst rising competition, Denmark's ambitions solidified. Yet this ambition came with devastating consequences for the indigenous populations. As World War I loomed on the horizon, Greenland's significance surged. Nations recognized its resources and strategic position. The icy terrain harbored potential for oil, minerals, and rich fishing areas, treasures hidden beneath the frost. Denmark, keen to assert its control, deepened its claim. However, America too had its eyes on Greenland. President Woodrow Wilson envisioned a post-war order, one that included a strong presence in the Arctic. The tension escalated, a silent war brewed, one teetering on the edge of confrontation as national interests clashed. During this tumultuous period, the Danish administration tightened its grasp on Greenland. The allure of exploiting natural resources often overshadowed the voices of indigenous peoples. The Greenlanders, rich in heritage and history, found themselves caught amidst the ambitions of colonial powers. Denmark framed its claim in paternalistic terms, promoting a narrative of protection and civilization. But beneath this veneer lay a more troubling reality: colonization under the guise of benevolence. The affair of Danish-Greenlandic relations starkly illustrated this disconnect. Copenhagen often viewed Greenland as a distant, icy frontier, not recognizing the profound cultural and spiritual ties that the Inuit had to their land. While Danes' explorers captured the majesty of the landscape, they simultaneously dictated the fate of those who called it home. Inuit hunting grounds became battlegrounds for foreign interests, risking traditional ways of life. Meanwhile, Rasmussen's Thule expedition continued to stir both admiration and resentment. While it exposed the world to the resilience of Inuit culture, it shattered the illusion of Greenland as a pristine paradise untouched by colonial ambition. Scientific findings supporting territorial claims fostered a sense of superiority among Danes. As knowledge expanded, so did the intrusion into Inuit autonomy. Agreements pushed forward by Denmark undermined indigenous governance, stripping away their rights to their lands and resources. Past the backdrop of exploration lay a bitter truth. The exploration of Greenland escalated a complex narrative where greed overshadowed genuine understanding. Denmark's quest for resources dangerously intertwined with its aspirations framed as scientific curiosity. The push to colonize weakened indigenous trust and shattered promises of respect. As nations jockeyed for dominance, the heartbeat of Greenland's indigenous culture pulsed beneath their feet, longing for acknowledgement. Betrayal was baked into the very ambition of colonization, an ambition that often masked itself under the guise of progress. The shifting tides of greed and aspirations led to consequences none could foresee. As the world watched, one question emerged: would the indigenous voices of Greenland rise against the tide of colonial ambition, or would they continue to be overshadowed, trapped amid the ruthless geopolitics of an ever-evolving world?